Welcome to Inside Straight. I'm Larry Mazza, your host, and my wife Kelly,
his co-host.
And
Good afternoon.
I've elevated her to consigliere too because she counsels me a lot. So she has a new status. She's not only technician, not only agent, not only lawyer, my counselor too. So my consigliere.
Thank you.
All right.
I think. I'm not
Yes.
sure.
All right, let's start with the comments to get this day rolling. I must have got up on the wrong side of the bed or something today. I just can't do anything right. So one of those days.
He's been on the knock-overs.
Yeah, knock things over.
Everything he touches, he knocks over today. Last night and today, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm stressing.
Okay, but we're going to move on.
We have to move on.
We have to move on.
The comments.
This will cheer you up.
Okay.
Great call on Mississippi.
Yeah, that will cheer me up because they were underdogs to Georgia, and Wise Guys didn't play the game, but we did. We took the points, which weren't many, maybe 2 or 3 points, and we took the money line, and they beat Georgia, and it keeps one of my picks alive, Mississippi, at beautiful odds to win the championship. They're less than a sleeper now because they beat Georgia. They have either the first or second best defense, statistic-wise, giving up only 11 points a game. I think Army is about 11, and there's one other team that might be 9. It might be, it may be Texas. Nah, it can't be after the Georgia shellacking. But no, that was a good call. Thank you. I hope you made some money on it.
Okay, the Bengals got robbed.
The Bengals did get robbed. That was a big pick for us on Thursday Night Football. That was one of the games we told you to log on. We were so high on that game, we weren't just giving it out, okay? If you would have logged on, the analysis was that this game will put Cincinnati and Joe Burrows back on the map because they were sort of fizzling and they're just struggling. And I said, well, a win against Baltimore, who everybody was picking, would have been real big. And it took a 2-point conversion failure for them to lose. They could have tied the game up with the extra point, but I like the move they made. I don't oppose the move they made, but the refs just blew it. There was like 2 face masks on the play, possible pass interference, and all Joe Burrow said at the end of that game when they asked him, he says, "I never get those calls." I know what he means. Some players get the calls, and I talk about it all the time. Those refs are watching to make sure certain quarterbacks, if they breathe on them too much, throw the flag. Burrows doesn't get that. As a matter of fact, it's like the other way around. He's under a magnifying glass, but 2 face masks, they should have replayed that play. So, yeah, they did get robbed. That's a good call.
Okay, Jersey Joe. Giants officially the worst.
Yeah, well, that's not any late-breaking news. At the beginning of the year, I said they were a talentless team from quarterback down. They gave away Barkley, who's a potential MVP player, to Philly, a rival. Their defense is overrated. Their quarterback is just horrendous. And, yeah, losing to Carolina, who everybody thought was the worst team, at a neutral field. It's not even like they did it in Carolina. Yeah, they're packing it in. They're probably going for the number 1 pick. If I was them, that's what I would do because they're just a horrible team, just like Massachusetts in college, who I pick on all the time. But I do the paperwork, and I see it. Every position, they can't match the other team, so that's a bad team.
Okay, Jay from North Carolina. When will college and NBA picks start coming?
Well, they've been trickling in. You got to watch the blog. There haven't been enough gold bar type picks. There have been some overs and unders. It takes a little bit of time to get into the season, see who's playing, who's not hurt. That's what you're going to get the information on now. I told you, these guys in the NBA, they're very fickle. If they don't want to play that day, they'll say their knees are hurting, and it's hard. If you put out a game, early in the day and then find out that one of the prima donnas decided to sit, makes us look bad. So we've got to get on that roll, get that system where we know. And right now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the gambling world, how it's evolved, there's insider trading going on. Okay, just like at the stock market. You know, if a guy knows, you know, Pepsi's going to take over Coca-Cola, and that's negotiations going on that aren't made public yet, but this guy knows it's happening, and he tells his stockbroker, and they go buy, and that's insider trading. They can't lose,
Right.
okay, because it's going to happen. So there's a syndicate group that somehow or another, and it's been going on for a while now, where they purposely put out bad lines. And they have their beards, as we call them, go out to the casinos in the old days, bookmakers in the lesser old days, or, you know, now offshore, wherever they're betting, and they get a 3 to 5 point advantage on all these games. You can't lose in the long run. You just can't, not getting 3 to 5 point advantage. So it's insider trading. And a lot of places, including Vegas and the DraftKings and FanDuel, they won't accept those wages because they're now put in by robots. Okay, so they can hit every account they have, whether it's offshore, whether it's Vegas accounts, whether it's, because they have people in each of these states. So they're not doing anything illegal other than corrupting the line. Okay,
Right.
So it's a big, big industry, and we won't get involved with that. I don't want to be involved with that because it's cheating. I'd rather handicap and pick the game myself, and I do well enough that way, and my people who follow me for years have done well enough. So it's tough. It's definitely a changed industry, and right now that's all you're going to get in college baskets is the robot sending in the cheating games. I can't spread those out. I can't tell you to go play these games. First of all, the line's going to move, and you're not going to be able to play it. Right. So we zero in on the professionals, and they come in. Well, the other night we had a hockey game, NHL. Came out of nowhere. Wasn't a robot. It was a game that was played on places that I can see. The Flyers, and they were favorites, big favorites. Wise guys don't like to lay big favorites. They laid this several times. They knew something. Flyers were winning 3-0 early. They won 4-3. Maybe they got a little lax, but they only had to win, and they won. So we'll be getting more and more. But right now, football's king, and don't forget, baseball, college football has always been our bread and butter. Baseball was second. This year, the NFL is right up there. I mean, maybe best out of everything. I mean, we're just having like a fantastic NFL. Baseball was great, and college football is good too. So, but stay with us. We're still listening. How many podcasts we do? About 12. That means we're 3 months into this, if that much.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't even know what number of podcast this is, but it's maybe 10, 11, 12. And we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. So it's just going to get better and better.
Okay, the stocks are up. Bitcoin's up. Great start to the upcoming year and presidency.
Well, yeah, we're not too big into the stock market, but the little stuff we dabbled with went in a good direction. I'm not too much into Bitcoin because, I mean, I just don't understand it well enough. I don't say you shouldn't educate yourself and see what it does, and it may be good for some people. I think it's better for younger people. At my age, I can't see me handing somebody $5,000 worth of green cash and them giving me nothing. If I bought stock, I get a stock certificate. I could watch Coca-Cola every day. I don't know what this Bitcoin is. They're not giving me coins to spend. So until I understand that, I can't get involved in it. Although, yeah, it's made people rich and people are getting richer. I'm afraid at the end of the day, it could be the biggest pyramid scheme in history. It could be. It may not be, but it could be. Where they just keep taking money from this one to that and this one to that and this one to that. I mean, I don't know. If nobody hands me something, I can't just give you money.
Right.
You know, unless I'm giving it out to somebody I like.
I don't think I understand very well the taxes on that. In the beginning, there were no taxes. Then you're being taxed on your gains. And even if you do it in another country, if the IP address is back in the States, they say they can tax it. Now, I don't really know what I'm talking about.
No, we need to research it.
Yeah, that's a confusing thing
I went
to
through
me.
life, cash is king. I still feel that. I prefer to spend cash than credit cards. Not because I'm hiding anything, but I don't want the debt.
Right.
I go out to eat 3 times a week and overspend on those cards because I'm not going in my pocket and I know how much I can do. It bothers me. It just I don't like that. So, but yeah, it has been a great. And listen, I think it's just going to get better. Forget that. I mean, all the things we talked about. It seems to be a great relief to the country. You know, future President Trump is and former is putting his team together, and I'm watching it, and I got to say, whatever woke is, they're all gone. He's bringing in people that are what we're used to running our country, you know, in different, you know, for the Secretary of Defense, the borders. The people he's putting there are going to be serious about their jobs and make it right again, you know? So, and it was a landslide, going back to that. And my thing is, to segue, is that the issues that the Democrats thought were so important were not on the grand scale. They snuck it through the last time, probably because the independents, or a lot of independents that were unsure and maybe didn't like Donald Trump's mean tweets and things like that, or whatever they didn't like about him. But a lot of them swayed over, and a lot of people that didn't vote, that don't want the things like the women in sports and the open borders, and we could go on and on and on. The ones that don't want that came across. That's why it was a landslide. And they put a lot of stock in abortion, which we talked about, gray area. I said, you know, if he was selfish, Donald Trump, he probably could just sell out and say, well, I could get all those votes. He'll lose some from the Catholics and religions that aren't behind just open door abortion policies. But there's got to be a happy medium. They need a panel, a group to come up with parameters, and there's always going to be exceptions.
Well, I would encourage people to, if you really want to understand it, to go read the Roe versus Wade and the Dobbs, which is the case that overturned it, the summary on those two cases, and they'll get a good understanding
of the arguments.
Of the arguments on both sides. One's 50 years ago, and medicine has come a long way since then. And, you know, it didn't go away. You know, it may be a little more difficult or more parameters now, but it still can be done.
And we talked about the exceptions, like the rape, and you said there's things in play, like right now.
Right, where it changed from, you know, when Roe versus Wade came out, there is a morning after pill.
Right.
So, you know, women aren't forced. I mean, you know that you were raped. I'm sure when you go to the hospital, that's going to be one of the things offered to you. And, you know, those are over the counter. So, you know, you do have some things if there was a slip up the night before. But my thing is, my body, my choice. How come nobody's complaining that we all, or majority of everyone, had to take a vaccine? Then that's not our body,
There's no
our
choice there. Right. No,
you know, I mean, that was taken, you know, it used to be kids' vaccinations for school, but now we couldn't even go to a restaurant to eat unless we could show ID and a proof of a vaccination. So you had to stay at home if you chose not to do it, or definitely at a mainstream, you weren't allowed to go. Going back to your comment earlier, I think, you know, the 2020 election, everybody was in lockdown. So that was a very...
See, I told you, it's a bad day for me. Everything's going crazy. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lockdown. That's true. And
you know, so what was out there, people really couldn't get together with their friends, right, to discuss these issues, or it really wasn't being posted. It was very isolated. So I think, you know, that was another thing that, you know, woke was upon us when we really didn't even see it coming. Yeah. So...
Well, close that out. My point, and not to get too into the abortion argument again, was the issues themselves. They thought more of America really was grasping to that. They weren't, you know, because there's a lot more pressing issues to most people, like prices and on gas and, you know, going to the grocery store and standing in other countries and the open border, on and on and on. Those were transgender sports and transgender, it's like 3%, if that much.
Right. Well, and the other thing, too, is we may have changed as a country, but all the other countries we interact with did not change.
And the last question I have on abortion is, it's also not supposed to be a birth control. Right?
Correct.
So there was probably a time where most abortions were not mainstream. They were
It was illegal before Roe versus Wade.
no.
Go to the movie Dirty Dancing.
Yeah.
If a woman got pregnant on a date one night,
Right.
she didn't have a choice, right?
Right.
So she had to go to some
Right.
trailer or some doctor
Yeah.
in the backwoods,
Yeah.
and it wasn't safe. And
Yeah.
a lot of those women,
Yeah, but my point is it's more of an upbringing. Most of us, most of the
true.
people I grew up with in my lifetime, again, we were Catholic. We grew up in a good neighborhood, so it wasn't like this was a big, major pressing issue. I would think, prostitution. There's probably a lot of it come from there. These were girls that had to go back to work. So I understand that's a sad thing to say, but it's not. It's just not the overall American public that is going to just go sway their vote for that one thing, or transgenders. So I don't know. I could never get that. I don't know. That's why I said I don't know how he missed the middle. Maybe it happened for a reason. Let people see what the country could be if we let that happen. And now it's not going to happen. So all
Right.
good, all good.
all right, let me hand you your
Yes.
manual teleprompter right here.
That was a long monologue.
Yes, it
But-
was.
Yes, but that's okay. Last week's college, it was exceptional. And again, when I say that, it's the three free picks that went out on Friday, all won. That's 3 of the 4 weeks that we started the free picks. We were 3-0. Okay, 1 week we were 1-2, and I took the blame for that. I got a little bit cocky and said, "Why should I give out free plays?" And I was put right in check by our techs, Kelly, and the producers of the show. So outside of that 1 week, we were 3-0. All the other weeks on our free plays. We had a Wednesday night game, Northern Illinois. It was an inside straight play. We had the game 14 points when it was only about half that, maybe -7. They won 42-28. They won by 14 points. Perfect call. We had over in the Coastal Carolina Appalachian State game. Game went over. East Carolina, I said a one-sided game. It was. We had a little bit of a back and forth on the total because the wise guys took the under, and I said I could see that because it'd be a one-sided game, but I was so right, pat me on the back please, that East Carolina scored so many points, the game went over. They were in the high 40s. Memphis won by 7. We laid 9, so that was a loser. Iowa was a very bad loser because I really liked Iowa. The week before, they played well with the backup quarterback, and I thought maybe that turned out to be a good thing, but it wasn't because they couldn't beat a team they should have beat. I don't have it written down. I forget who it was. New Mexico was one of the free plays. We put that on the blog early in the week. Halfway through the week, we upped it to a 4-goal bar play. And that was probably the best play of the week between Wise Guys and us. It was just the line moved the right way, so we put it out as a freebie, and that won. The other 2 freebies, we have something we call Free Friday or Free Friday, whatever it is. It's one of those 2. That's what I send to our marketers.
Right.
And the 3 picks were New Mexico, Texas State, and ASU. So those were all put in the picks as high goal bar predictions. The New Mexico game just kept going up. As there was no buying back. They were laying high in numbers. They hit it again on Saturday. And we just kept telling you this. So if you remember, you had to have New Mexico or it's your own fault. Okay, the next game I have written down is Ole Miss. They beat Georgia. We just spoke about that because it was such a good pick that we got a comment on it. Actually, we got more than one comment on it. They liked that game. Florida was a loser. I'm going to take a little bit of an excuse here. I found out the quarterback didn't play. I didn't know that until yesterday. Something must have happened that I missed. Nobody played the game for me to go back and look again that I knew of. But I thought they would have played Texas a little closer, and they got buried alive. Utah +3. I mentioned in my analysis, I thought it was a bold prediction by the wise guys. But then when I handicapped the game, I had Utah -1. and BYU was -3. So the points were very big there. Also, it was a defensive rating that I had. So BYU won by 1. If you took the 3 points, you're a winner. And that's how we touted it. It wasn't touted as a great money game, although I played the money line too. Whenever it's that tight, I'm going to do that. The blowout numbers. When I put down blowout numbers, there's not much for me to say. The line maker has it 39 or 41 or whatever. So obviously, it's a one-sided game. But when I put blowout numbers, it means my point spread is even higher than theirs. And there were 4 games that stand out. James Madison, they were a winner. They covered. Notre Dame, they were a winner over Florida State. Tennessee won by 19. They were favored by 25. That didn't, but I had blowout numbers. That was a loser. And Temple wins. So we were 3-1 on our blowout games. Those are different things I mentioned in the analysis. Like I'll give you the teaser specials. We've been real good with those. Until Sunday, the Bears, they played more like the Bad News Bears. They gave me up. Otherwise, I would have had like boxes all around. I had a bunch of winners in already. The Vikings were one, but we'll get to Sundays. Okay, let me finish here with the college. Over the Colorado Texas Tech game. That Texas Tech, very rare you're gonna come up with an under. They have no defense. They throw the whole game. So if they're playing a team that likes to score 2, you can't bet under. It went over, so that was a good one. The Virginia Tech was a loser to Clemson. I just thought it was 10-point loss. They played tough, but not tough enough. Army was a big underplay from the wise guys. My numbers supported it. When we found out the QB was out, it made it a 3-goal bar game. So the under won, and a wise guy group with the quarterback being out took the 22 points with North Texas. So that was also a winner. Not mine. I can't go against Army. I can't go against Navy. They've been winning all year. I went against Indiana once, and I lost. And then the next week I said, oh, no more of that. Although they lost, they didn't lose the game. They lost to Michigan this week. Boston College, if you remember, and you see the different analysis of games, the line was 2.5. I told you that Inside Straight, meaning us, the team, had the game -7. And I said it's really for advice only. If the line maker would have made that game 3.5, to me it would have been a bet because I had 7. But he had 2.5. That's very enticing. And that's why I made a little comment in the analysis. You only have to win by a field goal. That's like a mentality they want you to say. I want you to say that. When you think that, and then they lose the game. But they won by 6, so my line was good at -7. And if you remember and read the analysis and went through the blog, it's information, again, that's only going to help you, even if I didn't go out and bet a fortune on that game myself. Navy was a winner again. Connecticut was my pick. The wise guys followed up late. I'm pretty sure we put it in a blog that was a play,
yes.
And that was a winner. The wise guys were on San Jose. They won. I didn't agree or disagree. There's times I'll disagree, and I tell you, that game I probably gave it to you and said, it's their game, not mine. But it was a very good Saturday.
Yes.
Very good. Sunday, well, we started out with the Thursday night game, the Bengals. We talked about that, so I won't have to go over them again. But great game. They won. I'm going to say one more time that Joe Burrows doesn't get calls. For whatever reasons, he doesn't get the calls. And it's cost him some big games, and I could see the frustration, but he's been classy about it. He just says, I never get those calls. I know what he meant. Okay. Under the Giant, we put in the blog, Under the Giant game. It was an early game, 9:30. I hope it's the last one. Over in Germany, I went as far as checking on the surface, and it was a synthetic fake grass that is more like a farm. So I said, these two teams already suck, and they're not going to have a speedy field to run on. So it's going to be like, cows playing bulls or something. Anyway, the game stayed under. We were right on that. The Vikings was a very, very, very important game for you. We gave it to you on Monday or Tuesday when the line came out. You could have laid 4. You should have laid 4. As the week went on, because more and more came out, Trevor Lawrence was definitely not playing. A couple of offensive linemen. We knew that early. But maybe it wasn't a guarantee. They didn't put it out there to everybody, but we put it out because we had some information. And the under. Obviously, if Trevor's not playing, that team is not the same team. So, hats off to Jacksonville. They played a real tough game. They didn't pack it in. They didn't quit. But the Vikings won. They won by 6. Okay, so you would have laid the 4. On Sunday, the game went all the way to 7, 7.5. Okay? I'm buying some back. That's too beautiful of a middle. So I middled it. I'm not saying you should have, but if you played early, you had a winner. Vikings and under. New Orleans was my play all the way. Some wise guys were going the other way, but some wise guys also went New Orleans. I said they would win the game outright. They did. They beat Atlanta, and that comes off of a loss to Carolina, one of the worst teams in history of the NFL. The Chargers win. I've been riding with them. Been talking about their future with Harbaugh, how the team is starting to look like a Harbaugh team. And Herbert's starting to get some more help offensively. So they're going to be a factor. And I'm going to say it again, they're probably being the ones, if not Buffalo this week. And we're going to have a pick on that game against Kansas City. We're working on it already. I think the Chargers, if Buffalo doesn't do it, the Chargers, the next time they play, will beat Kansas City. We also had the under, which lost. And it was a meaningless touchdown at the end of the game where they go into what they call it, the prevent defense. And it only prevents you from winning or covering the gamble. It doesn't do anything. So they scored a late touchdown, cost me the game. The Miami over was a loser on Monday night. We were leaning toward Miami. We had them in our teaser special. I don't know if I put that out online because it might have just been mine. I don't want to cost anybody any money. We got to make sure it's 100% ours. Wise guys or both. That might have been too much of an opinion of me. But it lost. The over lost. I don't know how those two teams played such defense. They normally don't. So, and I mentioned the hockey game. I have a note here I wanted to remind you. You got to watch the blog. I think we might have put that in the picks page also. But they'll be coming more and more as the winter sports start picking up. And, the bowl games, very important. The bowl games will be here. And then we will have big advantages again, okay? The lines are getting tighter. It's harder to beat the odds maker. You'd be surprised if I brought my list at how many of the games are within a point or two. And every once in a while, earlier in the season, I'll get them 7, 8, 9 points out of the way, and bingo, they're good. And then later on, I'll see games like you got to squeeze. It's like pulling teeth. So anyway, that's for that. And now we're moving on to this week. We have a few picks. Again, it's because the lines are tight, but we will get more. They're starting to roll in. So tonight we'll get on and start putting out some blogs. Tonight's game, we do have a pick in the Akron Northern Illinois game. So please log on for that. We also have Miami of Ohio. That's an inside straight play. We're not going to make it like a multiple gold bar play. But at this point, I have them about 4 or 5 points higher than the odds maker. They're a better team. Miami of Ohio is a much better team. And my opinion is they will cover. Friday night, we have over in the North Texas UTSA game. So it's an inside straight play. I'm giving it to you now. We have a bunch of other plays we're not putting out yet. On Saturday, I'll give you one of the wise guy plays. It's game 343. It's Baylor minus 2.5. It only moved up to 3. So normally when they bang a game real hard, it moves more than a half a point. So I'm letting you know they played it at 2.5. If you get down and it moves up higher, you could go for a middle. But please log on to the blog and the pick page. Yes. They'll start rolling in as we get close. As we get closer to, we need a new book. That book's a bad book. You're bad. You stay. Maybe I'm doing a kick in this table here, but anyway, let's move on to Q&A. We are about ready for that, no?
Yes.
Okay.
And yes, please go check the blog. Somebody just informed me that they didn't realize that he puts picks and horse races on the blogs. So yes, he does. So please.
Yeah, I say it all the time. I guess we have to say it more. You got to check the blog because that's the quickest. If a race is starting in 10 minutes, we don't have time to go to the pick page and put it on. I got to put it on the blog.
Right.
So, and we may, what may be a good idea too?
I don't.
Moving forward, I'm going to talk to the techs and see, as they're trying to get this email thing squared away.
Right.
Maybe we can just, if you leave your computer on or you had your phone and you go to the phone and you see like a red flag, it means go to the blog. Something like that. Because we need to be able to get you more in real time. That's our goal from the start.
Right.
And that's why there's a lot of difficult things we're working on, but that I'm going to see if they can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a revised pick on NCAA football champs?
That's we had that last week too. I don't say I won't revise it because I still have a lot of teams I had from the start are there. I mean, I had Ole Miss, Tennessee picked as good prices, and they can win it. They're both very much alive. I said Alabama and Georgia well, Alabama wasn't a bad price. Georgia at the price with their schedule and playing these teams week after week. I didn't like them. They're not out of it either, but with 2 losses and the other teams with 2 losses being one of them that beat you, meaning Mississippi, I think Mississippi gets the edge. So I love Mississippi and Tennessee still. I love Ohio State. I've been loving them. And they just won 45-0, and we had it as blowout numbers. I didn't mention it because I didn't put it anywhere. It wasn't that far off from the line. The line was like 42. I said blowout numbers. I might have had 45, whatever. But they covered. So I still have them. The one I don't think is gonna. I think is gonna burn money is Oregon. I don't think if next time around Ohio State, I think Ohio State beats them. If they got to play any one of those SEC teams, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Ole Miss, and I'm not throwing Texas out either. So no real revise on that, but maybe just some value. And you heard what I just said about the value. Next.
Okay. Will the new administration help your show move forward?
This show or our other show?
All shows.
All shows.
Or your projects.
Oh, projects. Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know about this show in particular, because YouTube is YouTube. It's not. It is big. I mean, but I think they've gotten a little bit maybe greedy, where they're not doing enough to help the people where at the beginning they were. Now it's like, I guess you got to pay for everything. So I don't know how it's going to help here. But my show that we're trying to get done with Terry Winter and Joe Paletto and The Life,
right,
based on our book, which you can get at www.larrymazza-thelife.com. It's a great story. We have a script written by Terry Winter, and I think it certainly can't hurt,
right,
because we know the Hollywood thing. They're have their own way of doing things, and they have their priorities, and maybe a guy from New York who was in the life I was in, it takes a little bit somebody outside that circle to sort of.
Right. Well, money may free up a little bit.
Yeah.
As things change, money may free up, and they're more willing to take on newer projects.
Yeah, because we said it's a very big budget. It's a high budget show. Because it's a period piece, they call it, time, 70s, 80s. So they got to get cars, they got to get clothing, they got to find houses.
Right.
Neighborhoods that still look a little older. It's a big deal. So. But I don't think it'll hurt. I think if the economy goes better, and maybe Bitcoin will pay for it. Who knows? Yeah, somebody will help us.
Oh, see, we should have invested in Bitcoin.
Maybe
we could have.
Brandon from First Pillar, who's part of our production team here, maybe he can help us.
Yes.
Somebody. First, he's got to give me a teleprompter.
I know every week he apologizes.
I know.
But let's be honest. Even if we had the teleprompter, we would have to write the script so he could put it in the teleprompter.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
that's
anyways.
good. Okay. Next.
All right. So this question: what's the difference between mafia and the Costa Nostra? Costa Nostra? Nostra. Somebody keeps calling back and forth between our two phones.
One is easy to say, and
Yes.
one is not easy to say. No.
La Costa Nostra.
First of all,
La Costa Nostra.
you have La Cosa Nostra.
That's what my
That
problem.
is not even proper. It's not right. La means the. Cosa Nostra means our thing. So our thing, I think some government person put la on because it sounds better. It sounds more sinister, la Cosa Nostra, but it's not. It's Cosa Nostra, our thing. That's what we call it in America.
Right.
Yeah. Mafia is a word that we never used. We don't like it. It's like the Black Hand. You've seen in old movies, they called us Sicilian guys that came over or Italian guys. The Black Hand, because they were just abusing even their own, just bad, ruthless guys. Then when it got Americanized over time, and I'm not a historian, so I'm just going to give you very briefly, Cosa Nostra became the club, the social club, Cosa Nostra. There's no law for the last time. And it's our thing.
I'm just writing it down.
I know the way it was asked. I know, but I'm glad they put that there because I think even John Gotti, what he was talking about, saying, I don't want to hear the word La Cosa Nostra. I don't even want to hear the word la. The word la is the. It's not that bad. Cosa Nostra, I get. That's our thing, and it's, something that's supposed to be secret and sacred, but it isn't, it wasn't, and never will be.
Okay. How is it that Sammy the Bull was able to switch families?
Well, let me say this. It happens a lot more now than it did then. After all the, half of the families went to prison in the commission trial. As they lost the structure and the real rules, it's happening a lot more now as guys are getting out of prison. I hear it through the grapevine that a guy who used to be in the club, oh, no, he's with the Gambinos now. What is this and that? But back then it was more difficult. You had to get officials to approve of a release. Okay, so if I was with Greg and, another family wanted me, and I wasn't a good fella yet, Greg could release me. He was never going to release me, but he could have, and then it would have been okay. It would have been officially done by the people that it mattered. In Sammy's case, and it is different stories. He told his story, and I trust he told what was true. But you always hear little different things. For whatever reasons, there was a falling out, and he couldn't stay around this guy Shorty Spiro anymore. So now I'm doing what Sammy does. I'm telling his story.
Yeah,
he would tell my story all the time about Nicky Black and all of this other stuff. So no, but when he got released, it was approved, but he rose, as we all know. And that prompted something called the Sammy the Bull rule. If you get released to another family, and again, this was in the 70s and 80s while I was there, I knew. Again, it's changed now. You could never be straightened out because it comes back to bite. Scappy, long-time acting boss, captain, and he was our captain for a while, made a comment to Greg. He had to go to a sit-down, and he had to sit down with Sammy the Bull. He says, he used to be around us. Now I got to go talk to him. So now he was an equal. He probably never would have been an equal with Scappy if he had stayed under the Colombo family, which, whatever, good for him. He moved there, he became number 2. But that rule came into play because of, obviously, Sammy, so they called it that. So, anyway.
Okay, totally different subject. What is the best diet? Carnivore, Mediterranean, plant-based?
That's probably, I'd rather you answer that because me, I don't go for fad diets. So if I had to answer that, I'd say the Mediterranean. From what I know of that and the region where there were studies done, where there's the lowest cholesterol and less heart attacks in that area than anywhere else, I would say that is a good lifelong, and you can eat different things.
Right, it's a lifestyle. That's more of a lifestyle.
Right, the fad, if you're plant-based, you're probably gaining some health benefits, but I would imagine it's harder to maintain muscle.
Right, because you're not getting the protein.
Yeah, and the carnivore is...
Head to toe.
You're not getting...
Head to tail, sorry, not head to toe. Head to tail.
Yeah,
you have to eat all of your meat, their organs and things like that for it to work. But that I think is really meant, I just read an article on that after this question, and it's really meant to be, it's a great elimination diet. If you're having gut issues, all kinds of issues, and you don't know if you're allergic to dairy, you don't know this, if you just go, I guess people are less likely to have allergies to animals than they are. And I read too, and you may know this, I read too that very little of our cholesterol comes from eating animal meat. It's really our body produces. I'm not really sure how that
It's
works.
hereditary, basically, if you have higher cholesterol. Your body does produce it. There are things that can enhance that, and there are things that can help not enhance it. But you're right. For the most part, everybody's going to have cholesterol in their body.
Right.
You know, it's
And
like
eating meat isn't going to make it worse.
Right.
Maybe how it's prepared, that can make it worse, but not necessarily
Yeah.
eating the meat. So the carnivore seems to be more like an elimination diet. And then once you get your system back in and you start introducing foods back, if your body has a reaction, and
Right.
and that diet in particular does not seem to be sustainable.
No, you know, if you remember the Atkins diet when it was,
Yes.
that's similar to that carnivore, right?
Right.
It's only eating meat and proteins, right?
Right.
No carbs whatsoever. So when I was training people like on a real regular basis, I do it now with a more select, you know, because of all the trainers we have, and I'm busier and I can't give them the time they deserve if they hire me.
Right.
So anyway, if they would come to me and tell me that they want to try the Atkins diet because, for whatever reasons, they have to lose 20 or 30 pounds by the end of the month because they're going to a wedding. Typically, it's something like that. So I would say, okay, if that jump starts you and you could drop that weight, which you probably will.
Right, because you're not eating sugar,
Right,
you're not
and the
eating
carbs, and you will
yeah.
lose weight. But, you know, eventually it's going to affect your workouts, which is generally the healthier way to do it.
Right.
You're not going to be able to lift weights or sustain your runs and your cardio and your aerobics and you know, your weight training. So it's going to counter that. You're going to have less energy. So if you're doing it for a short term to fit into that dress, fine. But right after that wedding, when you get off of it, if you're not doubly alert, you know, more than ever, you're going to put on that weight and then some.
Right.
And it happens all the time. So the best thing to do is moderation. Get that general Mediterranean type of diet, or, you know, don't have, you know, cakes and cookies on a regular basis. Don't go to Dunkin' Donuts every day for a bagel, for a donut and coffee. Get the coffee and leave the donut. I mean, that's what I do. If they want to give you the donut for free,
Right.
I don't take it. I mean, you know, we cheat. We have our cheat nights. We drink. We've talked about this basically in moderation, but football season, it's tougher for me. And you're around me, so sometimes you have a couple of glasses of wine too many too. I know that. When football's over, we'll be okay. But we do exercise 6 days a week.
Right.
We do something, at least, you know, maybe 7, but 6 for sure, because there's a day we travel. But, you know, and that may be a run. We ran this morning. Yesterday, we went to the gym and we did the battle ropes with weights and push-ups and, you know, the back exercise. We did that. You know, we did an intense hour workout. So those 2 days back-to-back was good. Tomorrow, we'll probably go for a run, a walk and a bike ride. The next day, we'll hit the weights hard again. You gotta, if you don't do that, if you don't blend the workouts, diets, and exercise, I mean, the workout and exercise, the diets are not going to work, or it's not sustainable.
Right, that's
you,
the
you
thing.
got to
It's
make
you gotta
it's
make it a
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
Right, it's lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, it's not to say you can't go on and off diets. You know, if it helps you to go on a 2-week carnivore, is that what you said? Carnivore diet, do it. But you can't do it forever.
Right.
Then wean off of it and have your steak, but have a little bit of rice or potatoes or baked potato.
Make the right choice of the starch.
Right. And, you know, if you have that 1 or 2 cheating days, it's not going to kill you as long as you're walking, exercising, riding your bike. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of diets that come and go. But I'll leave it off at this. The Mediterranean diet, I think, is probably your best bet.
Right. It's probably the most sustainable. And it's not really a diet, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So, all right. Well, I think we've wrapped it up. We got through our questions. Maybe we'll start taking more questions because I didn't see Brandon give me the signal. So we could, you know, but it's okay. It's not a full hour today. That's all right. We're not going to bore you here. We have nothing else to say to you until...
He got up on the wrong side of the bed.
No,
I'm sorry.
no.
I apologize
I have
to
this
everyone.
to say to you. I have this to say to you. You want to be a good fella, and you want to be straightened out, you join Inside Straight Sports. And be a winner.
www.insidestraight.com. Goodbye.